8B, consideration of review for request for proposal for lawn mowing and trimming services for 2014 as advertised. Received and opened on Wednesday, January 8th, 2014. See attached staff report with recommendation to conduct further study on the details and bring the findings back to the council for action at the next regular council meeting.
Your Honor, we opened the bids on Wednesday, late afternoon, and what we would like to do is to have an opportunity to sit down with Councilmember Covenson and go through the numbers one more time before we bring a recommendation back to the council at the next meeting.
Sounds good to me.
Are there any things that from the bid that are concerning, or?
The one issue was, well, one of the bids is not, we don't feel should be rejected because it
We feel it should be rejected.
correct. Because they're only going to cut, they were only proposing to cut 2 areas. The other one was, Myers was submitted a bid for all of the areas that was in the RFP. However, as you'll note on their bid sheet, they had their own timetable established. I contacted Mr. Meyer and explained to him that the bid is for, it was supposed to be for, to give us a number, the city to call, and then they would come and do the work. So I asked him to review his bid number, make sure that he still wanted to go forward. He took the evening, came back the next day, and we talked on the phone, and he said that he was willing to go forward. His insurance looks like he'll be eligible to meet the insurance amount. We didn't require them to get the insurance for this specific project. We just want to make sure that they have the ability to do it and would expect them to do it if in fact we go forward. So we didn't see that, you know, they're a reputable firm. They do work for Camp Winnebago. And so there's no doubt that they couldn't perform the work, but we still have a responsibility under our union contract to ensure that the numbers meet the requirements under the contract. And we just need a little more time to make sure that that's correct.
How does,
Is that the first study or not? Or just,
how,
I just asked if we needed
Yeah.
a motion.
I don't think you need a motion. Because the bid says that, in the bid RFP, it says the bids will be awarded at a future date.
Yep.
So it gives the council time to do its due diligence and work with staff and determine what course of action you want to take.
and then how do we arrive at a comparable, the union with the union?
What we've asked staff to do is to go back and take the numbers that were submitted to council. They've also got a program which takes into account some additional costs for equipment, and then as it's been bid, one run through was what's bid if they cut everything all at one time. And so to do a comparable look and then look at what it might be on an annual basis, just so that we can see what this might look like for the long term. And that way I think council can have a snapshot picture of what it would be for one shot and then what it might look like over the long haul of the summer to make a decision.
I did call him today and I asked him, I said, what if it gets dry? He said, well, then we don't know.
Correct.
And he also said, I told him that probably every 2 to 3 weeks on the dike. And he said, that sounds good. He said, well, then he was talking $800 to $1,200 a week possible.
So,
See if it's every
so
other week.
those adjustments would need to be,
I don't, you know, frankly, I don't think that's quite right. We asked them to fill out a bid, and, you know, My job is to look at the information that's being provided and make sure that the bid is correct. And if we're gonna go and have side conversations with this person, it's gonna be really difficult, I think, for us to compare it. And I think it really leaves the city in a potentially bad situation if this thing would end up going to arbitration. You know, we have to make sure that these things are done correctly, and that we're bidding it one way, and that we're asking the staff to do and bid the same. And if we're gonna come back and say, well, he can do it for less, or he can do it for more, I think we're putting ourselves in a position where it's gonna be uncomfortable having a discussion in front of an arbitrator. I don't know if you would agree, Terry, but if we go to the process of putting out an RFP, I think we have to hold firm with what that process looks like.
We have to compare apples to apples.
Once it's been compared, then we can certainly look at it and say, because we had that conversation, if you're not asked to cut because it's too dry, or if you're asked to come in special because something's going on at Creekside, then you have to come down and make an extra cut. That's why it's specified that would be split out this way, so we know what it will cost us if we have them come and do extra work. But I would really caution the council to not start looking at alternatives to that bid right now.
Yeah, and then that, I agree, I think that's what we're gonna need to know, certainly, is that apples to apples comparison,
Exactly.
so.
And, you know, one thing we had to look at was the equipment. We've done that check. Their equipment is serviceable, and we'll get the job done. One of the other bidder had some different types of equipment, so I think that's the reason that they didn't bid on doing some of the other areas, because they're not equipped to do that. So, you know, it's gonna take us more than 3 days to look at the information, and that's why we need to have some additional time. Plus, we'd like to meet with Councilmember Cullinson and make sure that the numbers are apples to apples, and we can make a recommendation as such.
Okay. Do we need a motion to reject the bid from Mr. Keenan?
I think that would be appropriate, and then I could contact him and just let him know that.
That we're not gonna break out the bids for
Correct.
That's, yeah, it gets dealt with.
Yeah. I would make that motion with thanks that he was willing to go
Absolutely.
through the process.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bunkie, second by Mr. Dahl. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes, thank you. And as far as options, approve one of the bids, conduct further study, bring back to council for a decision. Are we gonna go with number 2?
Yeah, I think we have to do a little more work with it, bring it back.
Yeah, do we need to accept this at this time?
No.
And then, okay,
I don't think you need to take any action.
okay.
Any comments, Terry?
I agree with Mr. Sarvi.
Just to let it sit till the last meeting in the month, okay.
We left that flexibility in the RFP so that we didn't have to make it a quick decision.
We're gonna let it sit till the next meeting? We all agree?
Yep.
Right.
All right, let's move on. 8C. Consideration of taking action and completing appropriate documentation on the recommendation of the Economic Development Authority regarding several revolving loan fund issues requests. And they're all listed below, 20143 through 10. We don't have Joyce here this evening. You have any comments, Steve?
I do not. I mean, these are all on track and
Yeah.
performing as they were intended to.
Any questions from council?
No. And one,
One motion.
Be able to do them all, just.
Let's
okay,
do one motion.
okay, then I would move to accept 2014